Have you ever read an entire book, loved it, finished it, could talk about every detail, and then been told it didn't count? If you said yes, you're not alone. This is the reality for millions of Accelerated Reader, or AR, readers. As this parent put it, my 8th grade child just read a 43 book by Tom Clancy. He needs 25 points this quarter to satisfy AR requirements. Fortunately, it's only 5% of his grade because he did not pass the 43-point quiz. He read the book, loved and was immersed in the book and can talk about details, themes and plots. However, he missed enough key details in the AR quiz, missed a question about how a character prefers their coffee, and failed the quiz. Imagine finishing a 500-page novel, walking into school, buzzing about it, and being told it doesn't count because you can't remember if a fictional spy prefers an Americano or a latte. That is Accelerated Reader. That is a program used in over 40% of American schools, reaching 18.5 million students across 96 countries. I actually used Accelerated Reader when teaching abroad. I didn't like it then, and I certainly don't like it now. But I had no idea how much damage it was actually doing until I started looking into it. And the thing everyone is saying is Accelerated Reader is killing the joy of reading. And I need to talk about why that matters. Because reading, real reading, the kind you do because you want to, is one of the best things in life. I mean that. When I was a kid, I read Harry Potter under the covers with a torch after my mum told me to go to sleep. I wasn't doing it for points. I wasn't doing it to take a quiz. I was doing it because I physically could not stop. Because I needed to know what happens next. That feeling of being completely lost in a story, of forgetting where you are, of looking up and realizing 2 hours have passed, that is what reading is supposed to be. That is the thing that schools should be protecting at all costs. And Accelerated Reader destroys it. Systematically, by design. AR takes that feeling I described, the torch under the covers, the just one more chapter, the falling in love with a character, and replaces it with a points target, a multiple choice quiz, and a consequence if you fall short. A teacher called Jim DeLuca put it perfectly. The best way to make students hate reading is to make them prove to you they have read. That's what AR is. Reading for proof. Every book becomes evidence. Every page is prep for a test. You're building a case to prove you read. And if the case isn't strong enough, if you can't remember how a character took their coffee, then as far as the system is concerned, the book never happened. 85% of you watching this video right now aren't subscribed. That means most of you are watching my videos, enjoying them, and then just leaving. If you want to see more deep dives into the things that schools are getting wrong, it takes just one click. Hit subscribe. Part 1. How it works. So here's what Accelerated Reader actually does. Your school gives you a computerized reading test which places you on a number from 0 to 16. Based on your score, AR assigns you a zone of proximal development, typically about 1.0 to 1.5 grade levels wide. That's your reading band. You can only earn points for books inside that band. You read a book on your own time, and when you've finished it, you take a multiple choice quiz on a computer, typically 5, 10 or 20 questions. You need 60% to pass or 70% on the longer quizzes. If you pass, you earn points. Hooray! If you fail, you get nothing. The book you just spent 2 weeks reading evaporates from the system like it never happened. Your school sets a points target for each quarter. Hit it and you get a reward. A pizza party, a trip, a movie day. Miss it and you get a consequence. You lose break time. You might get an F in reading. Even exclusion from the reward event where your classmates go. Some schools display your progress publicly. Leaderboards on a wall. Awards in assembly. Basically Duolingo if Duolingo could give detention. Seriously though, think about what that does to a child. You're reading because you need 25 points by Friday and you've only got 18 and you can feel that pizza party slipping away. That's not reading for pleasure, that's reading under pressure. Bars. And those two things produce completely different human beings. Part 2. The quiz problem. A student called Kyla wrote, I am a middle school student who loved reading until AR. AR is not so much a comprehension test as it is a speed reading test. Because the test questions are so insanely detailed, I spend all of my reading time just worrying that I won't pass the test and being paranoid that I'm missing a detail. She says that she spends all of her reading time worrying. Every sentence is a potential quiz question. Every page is something to survive. When I read Harry Potter as a kid, those books were a world to escape into. In the age of accelerated reader, it's a minefield to cross without tripping. One teacher taught the book The Outsiders using accelerated reader. In her words, during our reading of The Outsiders, we discussed many things as a class, which characters could be classified as heroes, whether people are perpetually limited by their social class, and whether greasers and salts could ever truly be friends. With a plethora of themes and connections to focus upon, the creators of these quizzes decided this relevant question to ask students would be what colour eyes Ponyboy hates. Really? Renaissance learning? Heroes, social class, friendship across division. Those are the things that The Outsiders is about. Those are the things that make a 14-year-old sit up in class and think differently. And the AR quiz asks about eye colour because of course it does. It's like watching a kid stand in front of the Grand Canyon and asking them what colour the bin is. And this is what breaks my heart, because I remember what it felt like to read a book that mattered to me. When I read Harry Potter, I didn't remember what colour Dumbledore's socks were. I remembered how it felt when Sirius died. I remembered the lump in my throat at the end of Order of the Phoenix. That's what reading does to you. It makes you feel things. AR quizzes test whether you notice things, and those are completely different experiences. One creates a reader, the other creates a student who can pass a quiz about a book they'll forget by next week. Part 3, The Points Trap. Lisa Van Gemert wrote, AR is biblio-injustice. Accelerated Reader gives Herman Walk's War and Remembrance a value of 71 points, while Homer's The Iliad weighs in at a paltry 25. AR all too often makes the error of confusing length with complexity. So, one of the greatest works of literature ever only gets you 25 points, and it gets even crazier. Diary of a Wimpy Kid is worth more points than Percy Jackson. AR has built an economy where the rational move is always to pick the longest, easiest book you can find and grind through it like you're farming XP in a video game. The children are simply optimized for the system, which is exactly what children do when you turn something into a game with points. They play to win. They just stop caring about the thing the game was supposed to be about. A teacher wrote, we had an author come and visit our school. His book was mainly for 3rd, 4th and 5th graders. The author did a great job talking about the writing process and then went into his newest book. Students were so excited about the book because of the way he described it. After he was done giving his presentation, he asked if there were any questions. The very first question that came up, how many AR points is your book worth? Depending on what answer he gave, students would either still want to read it, or for some, the book wouldn't be worth enough points and therefore not worth reading. So an author got children excited about his book, and AR had trained those children to check how many points it was worth before they picked it up. That's just freaking sad. An educator called Donna McCraw described watching a student grab a copy of Wonder. McCraw asked if she knew anything about the book. The student said, no, but it's worth the points I need and it looks easy, so I grabbed it. McCraw wrote, it broke my heart. So many lessons about humanity could be found in the story, and yet none of those qualities of the book was even acknowledged in either the student's mind or the mindless quiz she proceeded to take. Wonder is a book about what it costs to be kind. This student will never know that. She skimmed it for points and moved the frick on. And honestly, that's what AR does to books. It strips them of everything that matters. The emotion, the meaning, the experience of being inside someone else's life for a few hours, and reduces them to a number. And children learn very quickly that the number is all that counts. Not how the book made them feel, not what they thought about afterwards, not whether it changed the way they see the world. Just the number. Again, freaking sad. A parent called Sasha T wrote, recently, my son was ostracized from a rally because he has 89.5% on his AR average and he was required to have 90%. To make matters worse, he was excluded from receiving a candy reward in front of his classmates, a practice which promotes shaming and embarrassment. By the way, my son reads at the highest level in class, at 3rd grade level. The best reader in his class denied a reward in front of everyone because he was missing half a percentage point. That's the system working as designed. AR's incentive structure requires losers. Someone has to miss the target, so the reward means something, and it turns out the losers are sometimes the kids who read the most. A student called Minda wrote, "In elementary school, we had a board with ribbons showing everyone's AR score. The ribbons were color-coded by grade, so my ribbon stuck out like a sore thumb when I fell behind. The other kids mocked me for it. I eventually resorted to asking my parents to read the books to me so I could try and catch up. All AR ever gave me was anxiety and guilt." AR's incentive system was so effective that this child outsourced reading entirely to her parents. She didn't learn to read more or gain a deeper understanding of the books. Instead, she learned to delegate, which, to be fair, is a useful life skill. Just probably not the one AR was going for. Smash that like button if you think that reading shouldn't come with a leaderboard. You can shove your leaderboards where the sun don't shine. Part 4. The book ban. Now, this is the part that would have broken me when I was a kid. AR's ZPD system, the reading ban that determines which books count, means that if you find a book you love and it's outside your level, it's worthless. 0 points. You could read it sure, but it won't count. And when you need 25 points this quarter, and every book has to count, reading something you love becomes a luxury you can't afford. A 6th grader called Tris Pryor wrote, "I'm a 6th grader and I hate AR. Our teacher makes us get a certain number of points at a certain level on a semester. If we fail to achieve that, we get an F in reading and lose recess. I'm really into dystopian novels and was reading Divergent, but I'm not allowed to finish it because it isn't a 6th grade level." A parent called Jen added, "My son was excited to receive the Boxcar Children's series for Christmas and wanted to read the books in order. However, he needs 10 AR points the next 9 weeks, and only a handful of the books fall within his AR range. So, unless he waits until summer, he can't waste time reading the series in order. My other son received the latest Star of a Wimpy book, but couldn't waste valuable reading time on it, as there isn't yet an AR test on it. Just ridiculous. Schools need to come up with something else. 2 children, 2 Christmas presents. 2 books they were genuinely excited to read. Both render pointless by AR. Christmas Morning and The Gift is a book you're not allowed to read. If Harry Potter had been outside my reading band when I was a kid, if someone had told me that Prisoner of Azkaban was above my level and I couldn't get points for it, I don't know what that would have done to me. Actually, I do know. It would have taught me that excitement about a book didn't matter. The system knew better than I did about what I should be reading. And I might never have read Under the Covers again, because why would you? Why would you sneak extra reading if the school has already told you that reading doesn't count? A parent called M. Barnes wrote, "I gave the middle school a 6th grader who loved to read and could not wait to get her homework done in order to spend some time with a book. Many nights I would retrieve a flashlight from under her bed covers, proof that she had slipped in a few more pages after lights out. At the end of that school year, I had a child who considered reading another assignment that was followed by a test. She came home to tell me that a book I'd recommended was classified as a 5th grade book, so she could not read The Newbery Winner. Torchlight Under the Covers gone in 1 school year. It's exactly like I was saying." A librarian described this scene. "Recently, a mother came up to the desk with her 3rd grade daughter. The daughter had selected a book about horses that she seemed very eager to read. The mother asked me if it was on the accelerated reader list. It was not. Well, she said, there's no point in my daughter reading this book if she can't get points for it. The child was then made to put the book back on the shelf. Need I say more? That entire story is honestly what AR teaches families. That a book only has value if a computer will quiz you on it afterwards. A little girl wanted to read a book about horses and was told no because the horse book had no quiz. If that doesn't make you angry, I don't know what will. If your school uses Accelerated Reader, drop me a comment telling me which book AR wouldn't let you read. Part 5. The evidence. Renaissance, the company that owns AR, will tell you that the platform is evidence-based. Well, here's what the independent research actually says. Stephen Krashen, one of the world's leading researchers on reading acquisition, broke AR down into 4 components: access to books, time to read, computerized quizzes, and prizes and points. His conclusion? Only the first 2 are supported by research. There is suggestive evidence that incentives do not promote additional reading in the long term. As I know from teaching, the 2 things that help a kid read are books and time. The things AR charges you for are quizzes and points. Schools are paying for the wrong two, as this academic put it in Education Week. In spite of claims that many of the studies supporting their program appear in peer-reviewed journals, no positive studies have appeared in leading reading research journals published by the International Reading Association or the National Council of Teachers of English. 30 years, zero positive findings in journals that actually matter. Renaissance Learning is owned by private equity firm Francisco Partners since 2018, with Blackstone taking a minority stake in 2021. It was acquired for approximately $1.1 billion. 30 years in classrooms, zero positive studies in a leading reading research journal. Bars again. But the revenue's doing great, so presumably no one at Francisco Partners is losing any sleep. Part 6. The real lesson. I used AR as a teacher, and I need to tell you what it does to the other side of the classroom. When your school runs AR, you're under pressure for your kids to hit their points targets. So when you're choosing books for your class, you stop thinking about what would spark their imagination, or what would make them better writers, or what would make a reluctant reader fall in love with a story for the first time. You think about two things. Is it on AR, and how many points is it worth? Whether the kid is actually interested in the book means absolutely nothing. It's all about the points. We had assemblies that celebrated the best AR readers, certificates, applause, the whole school watching. And what that does, what nobody in leadership seems to understand, is that it welds reading to AR in every child's mind. Reading equals AR. AR equals quizzes and points and pressure. So if you hate AR, and plenty of kids do, you will never love reading, because AR taught you that books and misery are the same freaking thing. A substitute teacher described what happens once the points are banked. Every single time, there are students in the room who have met their AR goal early, and every single kid then vehemently refuses to read. Because if they have met their goal, there is, in their mind, no reason to continue. Today, a 5th grader impatiently explained to me that since anything she reads now won't count for next quarter's goal, and she has met this quarter's goal already, reading would just be a big waste of time. It makes me want to scream. AR has built a system so successful at linking reading to rewards that, when the reward disappears, so does the reading. It's Pavlov's dog, except the dog has stopped drooling and now actively resents the bell. A 9th grader called Duncan wrote, AR has drained me of my love to read, from always being pushed all the time to read and make my goal. Then when I get finished with my goal in the last week, when it's too late to read another book, I find myself literally 0.1 away from my goal and don't even get to go on the reward trip. It just makes me want to scream when I hear the story of, oh, I couldn't read it because it was above my level. Duncan spent an entire quarter reading, finished his last book in the final week, missed his targets by 1/10 of a point, no reward trip. If you wanted to design a system that teaches children the futility of effort, you'd struggle to improve on this. Alfie Kohn, one of the most cited education researchers in the world, wrote in the English Journal, elaborate commercial programs, think Accelerated Reader or Book It, may be the most efficient way to teach kids that reading isn't pleasurable in its own right. And that's the thing, reading is pleasurable in its own right. I know, because I was the kid under the covers with a torch. Some of you watching this were that kid too, and others of you were that kid until AR got hold of you. Until a program told you that reading without a quiz is pointless, that your love of a story is worth exactly 0 points if you can't remember how a character takes their coffee. And the tragedy is that somewhere inside every point collector is a kid who might have loved books, who might have read under the covers, who might have carried a battered paperback everywhere they went, who might have talked for 15 minutes about a story that changed them, if someone had just let them read. If this video made you feel something, share it with a parent, a student, or a teacher who may well need to see it. From me, Snipe Snap, from my cats Lucky and Lisa, you can just about see them in the background there. We'll see you for the next one. Snipe, Snap, out.